Life on the remote Orkney island of Auskerry is unique. It's also hard work, and with advancing age and ill health, only getting harder.
So if you're asked to call upon to make use of the fire, have a sieve around.
My parents have lived here for nearly half a century, making a living from a flock of seaweed-eating sheep. And this is where they brought up me and my two brothers, from babies to university. Now though, I live in a city, working as a TV reporter. But for 3 months, I've come home to help. This is On to Other News, Episode 3. Auskerry has no mains power, and certainly no access to a scheduled delivery of heating oil or coal. Thankfully though, we do have peat. For hundreds of years up until the 1950s, families came across in boats from a neighbouring island to cut peat on Auskerry. Other boats brought people from mainland Scotland to take the top cut in order to flavour whisky. The tools required for the job now are probably not dissimilar from those used back then.
Take oilskins, Hamish, because we could get caught with. You take shelter in a cleat.
Today, Dad's helping me sharpen the turf knife and the tusker, which is a bit like a converted spade.
Yeah, the biggest mistake we can make, based on evidence, is that we forget to take the grinding tools away and they get left at the peat bank to rust. So hopefully that won't happen.
Why did you start cutting peat all those years ago then?
No alternative. Saved a small fortune. Marvellous thing.
Sharpened up, it's off down to the peat bank to get going. I've been cutting peat for 6 or 7 years now. It always used to be my dad and I used to come and help, but his knee got worse and worse, and so I started taking over this responsibility. And we do it every year. We cut them here in late June, early July. We cut the peat and then we lay it all out and dry it out and then put it into little houses, which helps dry the other side. And then it gets taken home, and I'll be here for that entire process this year while I'm here for 3 months. So the first thing you do when you come to cut peat is you use one of these big knives, which we've pre-sharpened, and you cut through all the turf, because all this is all grass and roots and soily stuff, and even when it dries, it doesn't make any good fuel. So you cut through all that, then you have to cut it off at the level that you want to cut the peat at, and then throw these down. You have to rearrange them later to keep them neat and tidy. As you can tell, it's quite boring, laborious work, so I always have my radio headphones on so that I can listen to Radio 2 while I'm doing the job. So I'll finish that in a bit. We'll go all the way to the end. But then this is the first cut. Once you've taken the soil off, the turf level off, this is the first cut of 3. This is the lightest, brownest stuff. It's not the best quality peat. Even when it dries, it doesn't dry fantastically well, but it's still fuel. And then this is the second cut. This is starting to get a bit darker, more closer to coal in its consistency. And the best quality peat is this stuff, the stuff at the bottom. Now, because of the rain, this peat bank has filled up with water. So if I cut this level, water will be rushing around me. It'll be very difficult to do. So we're going to get the pump in a couple of days. We're going to pump the water to the other side of the peat bank so that we've got space to work and cut this last cut of peat. Now, when this dries, it dries really hard. It dries really crusty and sharp. It's very like coal and it burns fantastically well. So the bottom cut is the most valuable. The other stuff is good for keeping a fire going during the day, but if you want real heat, it's this bottom cut.
And here's the thing, even if you do reach the top, like Andy Murray, is it always cracked up to be? The tennis star commented in an interview with The Times he could have achieved more. He's won Wimbledon twice, for crying out loud. He's got 2 Olympic golds.
It's free fuel. Yes, it's stored carbon, and therefore there are environmental impacts of burning and cutting peat. But of course, we're saving ourselves having to import fuel from elsewhere. And the satisfaction I get every time I see Dad or Mum loading up the fire with dry peat and it burning hot, it providing hot water for the house, it providing heat in the living room and in the central heating, I get such a buzz from knowing that the work I did the year previous has made such a big impact to life here. So, it's coming to an end because we're not going to be able to be here for so long because of my dad's health, which is sad. I'm not sure how many more years, if any, I'll be cutting peat. But it's been very satisfying, and I'm glad to have played a small part in the little history of peat cutting on Auskerry.
When you're burning it, what do you think?
I think, how amazing it is that you can burn something that starts off by being so damp and it ends up burning like steam coal. It's a fabulous feeling, and it looks so good, smells so good, and you're at an advantage to a lot of other people.
Where you're likely to fall and have acute injuries. There's so much good you can do.
Yeah, but we never have anyone calling say that they injured themselves sitting on the sofa eating nachos.
No, but we do have an awful lot of people who have heart attacks or strokes or high blood pressure or etc. They just may not make the connection.
Nick in Hino says, I got into running in 2018. I ran my first official 10K race in 2018.
You've done an incredible amount.
You have done an amazing amount. Okay, come to me for the bounty.
Now it's nearly all cut, I roped in some help to get it spread. Each peat weighs between 10 and 12 kilos when it's newly cut out of the ground.
I've never seen such a big peat as this one.
I'm sure you say that every year.
I don't say.
It stays like this for about a week or so until it's developed a crust on one side. Then it's lifted into little houses so the rest of it can dry. Later in the year we'll bring it home on the tractor and then it'll dry for a year in a stack before we burn it. While our efforts mean most things out here are in good shape, there are inevitably some tasks that fall behind. Dad always cut the thistles back early in the summer, but this year he hasn't, and they've never been taller.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I was thinking of me go down and go right to the bottom of the garden, and then the next one, and that's where the tallest are. They're all against the dike, and the biggest morale boost we could make is to get something killed in a strip that'll really flush our confidence. So, they're not being much use to us. And the best thing that we could do with them is turn them into vegetable waste, where they're bound to contribute something. Anyway, we've got to look after ourselves. There's nothing to eat off.
And you've always done this every year, the start of the year, haven't you?
Yeah. I did a great job the year before last. Unfortunately, it doesn't make any difference to cutting them down. They're just the same. But having got a traffic link now, I'm very pleased. You're doing really well. I can hear you chopping the adults. You are.
My cousin Charlie is visiting from Sheffield. He's about to get married to his fiancée Claire, but it turns out he also has a soft spot for scything too. And then, just before we finish for the day, Dad spots something in the grass. The chicks of a snipe, a beautiful bird that nests all over the island.
I'll stop and gaze however long it takes. I just love them to bits. They are absolutely stunning, and there are those that are accidentally super stunning. And they're as brave as hell.
I think he might be the seal king, to be honest.
Just before dinner, Faye and I have gone for a walk to see the seals up close.
Oh, wow! This is sick. They don't give a shit. Well, that one doesn't anyway. Look at its head. It's just lounging, looking at us. Did you hear that? Singing. This is super cool. Oh, it's got good hearing. It heard me do that. Oh, yes, yes, get it. Oh. They're so entertaining. Oh, that one just yawned. Wow. It's incredible that they've let us get so near. On the rocks anyway, because they come in quite near by the house and in the, close to the shore, but being out here on the rocks feels a lot like we're in their territory. And they're so funny and entertaining to watch, and they're so relaxed. I absolutely love how they're just lounging around. And they're so well camouflaged as well. Can you count? 1, 2... Oh, that one's lifting up again. Oh, it makes it hard to count when they're all being so interesting. But at least 2, 4, 6, 7 seals that I can see from here. They're so interesting to watch. And so many more variations in colour as well. They've all got really unique markings and patterns. And they range from really quite pale to really dark as well. Yeah, just watching you. Like they want to play. Well, they are playing. They are really trying to see you. They keep lifting themselves out of the water to get a better view. Wow, look at your audience.
The seals make a lot of interesting noises that sound a little like singing. As the sun starts to go down, it's nearly time to head back to the house for our dinner, but we couldn't leave before saying hello to the puffins. There's a huge breeding population on Auskerry, many of them nesting in the burrows left by rabbits that died out here long before my parents arrived. They catch sand eels off the coast and then land to deliver them to their chicks underground before heading back out to catch more. Thank you for watching On to Other News. And that's my first month on Auskerry already passed. It's been a pleasure to see all your comments and questions, so please keep them coming. And do subscribe to my channel for future episodes. Oh, and a big thanks to Faye for helping me film part of this episode. Next time. Something a little different for this series as we host the annual Auskerry Pint Band competition on the hottest day of the year. And just as the musicians leave, Mum spots something breathtaking off the pier.
Faye!